Once again, thank you for joining today's session. Before we begin, I would like to introduce ourselves who will be joining you throughout this webinar session. So I am Chelsea. I am the regional marketer for Philippines, and today's presenter is Nicholas Ko, one of our evangelists here in Zoho. He will be talking about AI and customer experience. So I'll be giving the stage to Nick.
Well, thanks, Chelsea. Thanks a lot. First of all, very good morning to all of you. And Chelsea, once again, great setup. But I have to say, I may have to break the momentum a little bit because I'm going to break a presentation rule. It's not so much about presentation rule, but more so a disclaimer. So if all of you who have joined today is looking to look at how we can program AI, that's unfortunately not going to be the discussion that we are looking out for here today. But I think what's really pragmatic and a little bit more practical today is to talk about how we can all become better users of AI, right? Because again, that's one of the hottest skills to have right now. AI has made its way into the workplace. It's been democratized publicly. Everyone's sort of gotten access to that. So let's just really talk about how we can use AI to our advantage, specifically in the case of how we can improve your customer's experience. Now, frankly speaking, when GPT first came on, I myself wasn't too excited at first for a reason that I was the main go-to person at work, right, when it comes to content. And my job was on the line. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is a threat. But, I'm full convert right now, which is why we're having a discussion on AI today. We've seen the immense benefit. I've used it to fact check certain stuff. I've used it to gain inspiration. Not quite in the aspect of generating content on my behalf yet, but more so really in those few, areas. GPT and AI has truly been democratized. We know how everyone's sort of using it. So I want to talk a little bit about that and sort of the way AI works, right? We know it requires large, copious amount of data to train it. We've seen that with GPT, where it relies on public data sets. Now, in the context of talking about customer experience, creating great customer experience, certainly we want to talk about how we can work with customers' data as well. So how can we train the AI with the customers' data, and really where else to look at that than a centralized database that we have in the CRM. So we will dabble a little bit on that, and I want to talk about how really AI can actually make the software that we're using today smarter, more efficient. It improves the usage of your customer-facing team. Okay, so now obviously we know ourselves working in the SaaS industry, which stands for software as a service. This is the very industry that we are in as a company. We also sort of know how it provides the infrastructure and the delivery model for cloud-based solutions, things like your CRM, your HRMS tool, maybe your bookkeeping tool, and all that sort of stuff that runs on the cloud. But when we talk about how AI, when integrated, and there's going to be tremendous benefits, right? We're talking about how we can expound on the data within to help you make better analysis as a user, help you run better predictions in a sense where you know what's the better time, or in fact, the best time to contact your customers, right? That's going to help your sales department tremendously. It's pretty interesting because not too long ago, we were sort of all glorifying the concept of, living in a future where we coexist with robots, autonomous vehicles, maybe state-of-art technology as well. We've seen that in movies, but these days it's become more so a reality already, right? And it's the many geniuses of the world who have come together to collectively progress technology to such stage, specifically AI. Now, it's also the many geniuses who have helped put an AI like voice assistant in our everyday mobile phone, right? Where we use it to search the web, maybe setting a reminder, sending a text on our behalf, or if you have a specific appointment to make, maybe you want to send a specific message as well. Now, you may get stuck in the traffic. Maybe you want to find the fastest route, right? So AI can all sort of do that, the sort of, great stuff, great things. Now, that said, what we're seeing here in terms of a voice assistant, this is a narrow form of AI. This is a form of narrow AI where it performs a single task. So it actually processes and understands instruction based on feedbacks as well as patterns in your data. Unlike generative AI like GPT, this one operates under a predefined set of rules. Whereas GPT, on the other hand, is typically modeled to be more like human intelligence, where they learn things, they learn data, they learn and create really sensible information for you. We've also seen AI in F&B, where we deploy this in restaurants. They are able to kind of find the tables where we exactly want to serve you the food. So maybe you have table 14. AI will actually learn the roadmap and just, in fact, AI will learn the map of the restaurants and actually head to table 14 and serve the customers accordingly. Now, we've also seen AI in financial investing. We've had extensive financial big data to analyze, and robo-advisor seems to have gained steam, at least in the last couple of years. Perhaps you yourself are also one of the users, but really how this works is it uses algorithms to automatically perform investment decision on your behalf, where it evaluates a financial goal, maybe a risk tolerance, because everyone sort of have different risk appetites as well. Now, the algorithm uses machine learning, which is one of the fundamentals of AI, to really create the best fit for your customers, right? So depending on market trends, whether it's bullish, bearish, and all that sort of performance, is actually able to also kind of help you make decisions and rebalance your portfolio as well. Pretty great stuff. I think one of the biggest benefits is AI in healthcare, right? To some degree, everyone requires a little bit of healthcare. Just imagine the amount of misdiagnosis that tends to happen, or the lack of personalized care that tends to happen, because every year, if I can give you a statistics, about 400,000 patients suffer from preventable harm. Now, it could stem from possibly incomplete medical histories. Maybe there are large caseloads that overwhelms your team of humans, that leads to fatal human error. Now, those are no-nos, right? We don't want that. And in fact, these are variables that medical professionals, in a sense, tend to miss. So again, with AI, we've seen how it's able to help predict better, diagnose diseases at a faster rate, even in the aspect of R&D as well. It takes thousands of man hours and clinical hours, trials, and to finally get a drug out there in the market, right? And really, only 10% of those markets, or rather those drugs, actually make it to the market. So really, AI, what we've seen in the past is how it speed up this process by designing drugs, by identifying maybe side effects, because you don't want the human to actually experience that, right? And of course, we have also used AI to identify ideal candidates for clinical trials. So a lot of benefits that we're seeing here for surgery as well, hoping for it to be a bit less invasive. You can get a robot to do that, right? Even in facilitating digital transactions, bookings of medical appointments, find out a little bit more about a certain condition. Those are things that can be done. Now, without dragging the introduction too long, this is where we really saw the real democratization of AI here. Of course, majority of the public would have known this already, would have tried with GPT. What we use to perform on our search engine like Google is, for example, we have a certain local recipe called char kway teow that we want to find. Typically, what it would do is it will give us this, it curate, thousands of links for us, and we still, after all, at the end of the day, still have to look into the content and skim through and to really find out the content that we really want. But with AI, just a single prompt, when you do it right, it's able to fulfill all your requirements for you in forms of a recipe. So you can get it to explain the concept. Maybe you're a developer yourself, obviously. Maybe you can get it to debug a code in different language, things like your Python, your R, JavaScript, right? You can get it to critique your essay, etc. So we've talked about the tremendous benefit of AI. We've seen it, how it kind of plays out in different industries as well. Now it has affected others in the sense in how it improves and problem solve things. It's going to affect you and I as well. Now, these are departments that we see in our everyday job, right? You can be from FMCG, you can be running an e-commerce company, you can be in sales like us. We all have these departments, and I want all of us to do maybe a little bit of exercise right after today's webinar, is to go chat up with people from different departments, from HR maybe, and ask about their use of AI, or maybe from marketing, and we'll be quite surprised with the results. So there is definitely an increased usage of AI in our day-to-day, and it has improved my experience. I want to know a little bit about yours. So at this point of time, we have a chat module on the left. Feel free to also leave a response under our chat module to kind of let us know how AI has impacted you, whether it's your own personal lifestyle or whether it's your professional life. All right. So Now we know AI requires a whole bunch of data to make really sensible responses. And when we talk about how we want to use AI to impact great customer experience, that means we need a whole bunch of customers' data. With emphasis on that, we will look at AI, specifically Zia, which is Zoho's very own AI-powered assistant, and talk about how when it's layered into our apps can actually help boost the utility of our application and boost the effectiveness of the tool. That is crucial because at the end of the day, essentially those people interfacing with your tools are your staff, are your customer-facing team. And when we improve that experience, I think the output it will in turn improve your customer's experience as well, right? So we've given many examples of AI. We know it needs an input. We know it does some processing and it gives you really sensible output. It's really based on two principles and fundamentals. Machine learning, of course, is a fancy term for an algorithm that improves itself. So all you have to do is constantly feed the algorithm with examples and data for it to get better at making sense of data. And then you have natural language, right? Where it's a subset of machine learning. Where essentially what that means is you as a user, all you have to do is to kind of interact and communicate with the machine, right? And it should be able to ideally interpret the language or your responses or your prompt that you're putting across. So in the nutshell, that is what AI can do for us. I think prior to us actually diving a bit deeper into our own products, I want to run a really quick poll here. You may have formulated some of your answers already.
Yeah.
While I was busy rambling, so I'm going to bring on Chelsea here, who's going to facilitate the poll session. Chelsea, please.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. So, Nick went through from very brief things on how we can effectively use AI. So, as an organization, everyone here in this session, what would be your main objectives in considering AI for customer experience improvement? So, I'll be launching the poll now, and the options are: is it to increase customer satisfaction and loyalty? Is this how you see you can use or maximize the use of AI? Improve operational efficiency, drive revenue growth, or even gain competitive advantage. We have people voted for increased customer satisfaction and loyalty, improve operational efficiency, and of course, drive revenue growth. And there will be a few examples that will be shown on how we can, meet these objectives, or how AI can meet these objectives, help us throughout. Let's say, just like for a few examples that Nick showed earlier, let's say for operational efficiency, like um, there are repetitive tasks that can be automated by AI, especially with the right data, especially if fed with the right data. So I think I can give the floor back to Nick, and he can continue discussing further on how we can improve our customer experience.
Right. So thanks, Chelsea, for the poll itself. And as she kind of mentioned, there's no right and wrong answer. It's really kind of contextual to where you are as a company, what are the directions that you want to kind of go with when it comes to using AI, implementing AI, and your expectations on it as well. We uncover more along the way. So let's move on. Now, we've spoke about AI, and let's talk about real quick how AI is going to be implemented in customer experience, kind of what we can expect as well. Um, I kind of know that this term customer experience, or in short CX, has been kind of tossed around quite a fair bit. You might see at trade shows, seminars, and so I'm not going to spend too much time really dabbling too much into this concept itself. But kind of let's think back to a store that we've always go back to, right? How did the brand made us feel? Probably because they created great CX or provided great CX as well. And I would say every touch point matters for me as a customer, right? Just from my perspective as a customer, from really how I browse a page to making a purchase to receiving marketing campaigns. If it's more so personalized, all the more better. To the experiential factor with interacting with their chatbot and self-service and things like this. So those are things that would make and break in my own opinion, customer experience. It's really a measure of how satisfied your customers are, because we always want these people who are your loyal customers coming back for more. They're going to bring back repeated sales, but I think more importantly, they are your advocates as well. They are truly your strongest advocates, and that's really what we want at the end of the day. So then the questions comes, right? Why is AI also important in customer experience, especially these days? Now, if you know we are going to talk about creating great customer experience, I think really us as a brand, as a company, as a business, have to kind of ponder and think about how we can become more proactive than reactive as a brand, especially we in the digital age and information age, at the rate things are moving. You have to think about how you can create that competitive edge for yourself, right? How you can know of your customers before they even make a purchase. Probably what are the things you want to upsell and cross sell on based on maybe some historical content and information that you have about them. So these are things that will give you some kind of an advantage. And as a brand, maybe we want to make better analysis, we want to have better predictions, and maybe there's a recommendation engine in your backend that's going to run better recommendation, telling you how you can approach your customers. So that's all going to put a competitive spin to your overall brand experience. These are all decision making, right? All these are decision. And when we talk about decision making don't always have to be left to mid management. Ideally, especially when things are moving online, we've got a virtual setup, we've got a centralized database. Actually, every department, every business unit, every individual themselves should be able to identify that single source of truth. Okay, we all have to be able to make informed decision making at all levels. Now, I as a marketer, when I'm creating maybe some upselling, cross-selling, campaigns for our sales, I also have to know about past transactions of the customer, what were their historical touch points and things like this. Now, in the case of customer support, your agent probably also need to know which email to specifically prioritize, and those are important. Which is why, in our opinion, also a unified technology is really, really important to be able to make sure that you as a support agent, for example, is able to know of everything about the customers prior to the ticket actually reaching you, right? You would have gotten prerequisite information like the subscription tier, which is important because then you need to know whether you're running a premium support or not, past inquiries, maybe preferred language. Those are things that will make and break the quality of a support, right? So I think at the end of the day, we want a win-win situation. Your agent shouldn't spend extra time tracking information. Your customer shouldn't spend extra time explaining things. Okay, and to put things simply, here are our responses. We have come up with a bundle called Zoho CRM Plus. This is going to be the unified CRM platform that we are working with today. And I know it doesn't do it justice for us to kind of talk over, this slide and explain the tools because there's no real visual cue or any sort of a UI to help us facilitate our understanding of what each and every of these tools does. Okay, but here's the spread. Now, over the years, especially in recent months, we've added more tools, we've added more application to this bundle, right? And if I can kind of put it that way, these are tools that will be able to help us really fulfill and satisfy a customer's journey. And we know it typically starts with creating awareness. It could be from social media. There's a social media tool, right? There's a campaigns tool. It could be until evaluating and maybe making a review, trying to evaluate their options as well before they make a purchase, right? We have a website too. Maybe checkout is also another tool that we have. Now, when we talk about experiential factor, things like a customer support or maybe self-service support bot or things like a chat bot, those are tools that we provide as well. And you see a glimpse of this along the way. But in essence, this bundle has all these different tools. We're going to move on real quick and talk about just the role of AI in CX and in that specific bundle itself. So we know AI and data goes hand in hand. We use it to improve productivity. For example, running some form of reminder. If you're in FMCG, maybe you want to know just at which point of time do you want to restock your stock level based on past consumption, right? So there's some historical data going on. You know what happened in the past. Now, how can we make improvement going forward into the future, right? And reaching customers' data, those are available as well. Helping with personalization, right? Things like identifying products to sell to your customers or to cross-sell and upsell to, finding maybe total sales during a festivity. All these are insights that AI will be able to generate for you. So I think we'll move on real quick to see more examples with some screenshots of UI. I think that will make better clarification. So here is Okay, GIS came a long way. It's appeared in CRM really in 2017, and then we kind of expanded that in other parts of Zoho. You now see that in Zoho Recruit, which is an application tracking tool. You see that in Zoho People, which is a HRMS tool, and many other tools as well, because we have seen tremendous benefit from integrating AI with many of our solutions. So we kind of know data is the lifeblood for any SaaS business. I think what really rings true here is data is the lifeblood for any business. Okay, because businesses today, you and I would have used cloud tool. It can be free, paid, open source. We have data, customer data stored in this tool, and we need to be able to make full utilization of that. So I want to talk about a platform where most of our customers' data sit in. We've kind of break things up into different fractions like marketing, sales, service to kind of simplify today's discussion. Again, the very nature of AI, of course, we know is that it's conversational, right? You should talk to it as though you are talking to it with your colleague, with your peers, with your friends. And ideally, in return, you want them to be able to be your work assistant where they produce and provide some form of analytics or data on demand. And let's talk about sales first, right? Let's quickly talk about sales. In the aspect of sales, we've got Zia Voice. Now, as a sales agent, at the end of the day, I think besides making calls, besides interacting with your prospects, your leads, or your clients, is also you do a lot of preparation like this, right? Getting numbers. You want to be able to get data on demand, information on demand. So with Zia Voice here, it leverages really on the idea of natural language processing. And you can get your answers really built in a couple of seconds based on all this historical data that sits in your CRM database, which is where most and predominantly most of your customers' data sits in. And really what happens here is, for example, right, if you want to get Zia to get me the number of leads created this month by source, Zia will be able to take that, look into the database and create something for you. And it's going to fetch you result either in forms of a dashboard, in the form of a pie chart maybe, or an integer, really depending on the type of prompt or parameters you put in as a user. Now, as a sales, what we also want to ideally do is to save time and be efficient, right? We want to identify maybe high priority deals from those that are unlikely to close. I think that's a big superpower of sales. If you're able to do that, you can really improve your day-to-day process significantly. So these are all based on scoring rules. And what Zia does, it looks into your historical database, things like your past deal sizes, the number of calls it takes to close the deal previously, and then factor that into an instance. And it's going to give you some form of prediction here. Now, as a salesperson, we probably spend at least 20% to 30% of the day making calls. It may differ for you, but some of these calls may not always necessarily convert into a closed deal or anything at all. So that could be wasted hour, and I think that's really what we do not want. So the best time to contact function here or feature here is going to be able to look through your various touch points in your CRM Plus bundle. Things like maybe the campaigns link that were clicked on. What were the general email open hours? Or maybe there's a specific call data that you have with that particular customer, Sarah, right? All those information will be made available to the AI. AI will then make some form of recommendation for you. Now, one point to note, how do we factor in call data? Now, the call has to be 1 minute long and above. So any call that's 1 minute and above, Zia registers that into the best time to contact feature. So it's not just about getting numbers and all that, but we're dealing with software, we're dealing with data here. And at times, what we really want to do is to be able to identify problems and anomalies and deviations. So the anomaly detection function here really helps us analyze all our leads and deals and then really quickly identify a fault that's in between. And we spot that from deviation. So again, how it works is it essentially looks into your historical database, it compares it to your existing data, right? And then it spots the deviation. Now, one thing's really interesting about this is as a user, we can even subscribe to a notification. So anytime any sort of anomaly is spotted, it will get highlighted to our bell icon, and you as a user will be notified right away. I think that's really important, is to get real-time update. Okay. Now, I think what's really funny and interesting here at the same time is being able to use AI to help us discern sentiment. and then to make priority and to prioritize email based on that. And obviously, maybe emails with more negative sentiments or connotations would, of course, be identified as unhappy customers. And we know right away those are even more important because it's time sensitive, right? So we can quickly work on that right away. Now, how this works is with machine learning, you can even train Zia here by adding your own information like phrases or things that you don't want to hear. You can mark them out as either positive or negative. That way, AI, or Zia will be able to pick that up in the future as well. And it really makes the entire process for you, your team, as well as your organization, a little bit more consistent because you know what are the standards, right? And it's not just about having Zia go through all that sort of information and data that sits within your database. You ideally also want to make sure you're working with real-time data that are up to date. So probably what you want to do is some form of profile enrichment here, where Zia goes into the internet, crawls up the web for public data of your customers from the website, maybe from LinkedIn, social media, if they did not public, if they public it, and all that sort of stuff, and come back here and actually repopulate and even update those fields of yours. So you have actually up-to-date data to work with because at the end of the day, we're trying to make recommendations, okay? And it should always be based on updated data. So the cross-selling recommendation function really comes from the various customer touch points, like, again, past conversations. Maybe there's a certain behavior on social media, certain click links within a campaign, purchase details. Again, these are things that will be factored into that instance itself. Now, in this very example, where we are trying to sell maybe a condominium with a 4 bedroom, sorry, right? We ideally have to look into the past apartments they have viewed, or maybe there's a specific showroom flat they have been to, right? These are information that will be of good use for us as well. That's the AI. So we've given some very light examples, giving you a flavor of how things sort of look like in sales. So right now, I think we are going to run poll two. Essentially, we're going to talk about the main challenge you would face when implementing AI within your company or as part of a CX strategy. Again, Chelsea is going to come on to really help facilitate this. So take some time, think about this, and then just answer accordingly.
Thank you, Nick. So we're down to our second poll for this session. So the question is, what are the main challenges you face when implementing AI in your customer experience strategy? So I will launch the poll. And you have options like lack of budget, resources. Of course, there's data privacy and security concerns, integration with existing systems, resistance to change within the organization, and maybe it would be finding the right AI solutions or vendor. I know we are facing the new age of digital economy, and AI is part of that. And I'm sure that no matter how open we are to this new technology, there will be challenges, and that's normal. Just like what Nick showed earlier, there's a lot of things that AI can help us with, but there will also be challenges along the way, especially that it's still new to most of us. We actually have people answered integration with existing systems and finding the right AI solutions vendor. I think they're also correlated, like how we can find the right solution vendor that can help us integrate in our existing systems, especially for those who have already, an established data system in their organization, right? So I guess Nick can help us, further um, elaborate these challenges or how we can face this. So
Right. So
back to
thanks,
you, Nick.
Chelsea. Right. So I think so based on the two results, obviously finding the right AI solutions and vendor um, is also part of the race concern as well, which is very valid because when we think about all this sexy technology out there, state of art technology, brand new stuff, it can come at a cost. So the idea when we talk about Zia today, it's really, I just have to kind of emphasize today that, Zia, we don't offer that as a la carte standalone tool. Most of that are kind of embedded and built into our existing software itself. It could be a CRM Plus user, right from the get-go. When you subscribe to CRM Plus, Zia is already going to be within it. All you have to do is to make sure that you kind of put in enough data to train Zia, and you'll be able to kind of enjoy all those benefits that were shown earlier on in the sales, right? In the sales scenario. So speaking of which, I do want to spend some time talking about marketing, how we can gather, maybe data on demand, how we can build cross-functional reports and get our hands on all those important, numbers, right, at a granular view. So here is a function called Zia, and this is an interface from Zoho Analytics, which is again one of those tools that we have under CRM Plus. And the idea is we want to use natural language here to help us create report just by typing in our requirements. For example, could you show me my yearly revenue by country as a bar chart? Right, as a bar chart is also kind of the really important parameters here as a prompt. So Zia immediately picks that up and immediately goes into your database and help you curate all this information right there and then. It's pretty convenient in my own opinion as well. So that beats having you to go through the process of building reports and then translating that into dashboards and then finally selecting how you want to, put some form of visualization to your data, right? Zia will be able to do all that for us as well, just by us speaking to it in plain English. So just think about how convenient that's going to be. All right. So let's get a bit more playful here. Let's get a little bit more specific, if I can use that word, right? So let's get Zia to show us maybe the support ticket this month by channel and by priority. So these are going to be parameters that we will be adding in. And this is the result. It will respond with this bar chart that we see here. So essentially that really allows us to skip through the trouble or the process of having to go through report building and digging through the CRM Plus interface if they are not integrated in any sense. But because they are, it makes it a little bit easier for us to work with those data and information that sits within. All you have to do is to make sure that analytics is active, you're using it, right? And it makes things a breeze, isn't it? So you might wonder, how do we then, integrate all this? Do we get it from subscription? This is also, by the way, programmable, right? This is actually programmable. So you can use the default version of it, but each and every of this board here can be configured with a business logic. It is an in-house logic by Zoho called Deluge, D-E-L-U-G, Deluge, all right? And from there on, you'll be able to build customer-facing bots as well. You can customize that to fulfill maybe specific, brand engagement requirement. You can kind of embed this on your website. So, of course, we know kind of the idea of having a bot is that 24/7 presence. And really, with natural language, what we want our bots to do and to help your customer with is to make sure that they are able to best fulfill their inquiry. They're able to best, register whatever sort of inputs they had, because the last thing you want is to have a bot that don't reply contextually, and then that's going to break and kill off the entire experience for you, for your customers on the website. Okay. I think in marketing it's also cross-functional reports as well. We've seen how sort of analytics is able to help us build certain reports in sales, in marketing, and support. But you will also be able to put together information and data from all these different aspects as well, because we are talking about customer experience, and that's way higher level. It's not just limited to sales. All right. So we've got this unified analytics going on where it essentially blends data from different data sources as well. That is based on all these different tools that you're using. It could be surveys, it could be campaigns, it could be a webinar tool, it could be a CRM, right? And then finally, let's talk about things and AI in customer support. Okay, reply assistant. In a sense, how this sort of work, I think when it comes to customer support, it's always about the type of content and responses we're putting out across. Are they of quality? So when you get a ticket coming in, besides Zia being able to add a tag to that, is we have Zia as an AI intercepts the ticket and then just run some suggested responses that she can pull up actually from our knowledge bases or our K-base, knowledge base, and FAQs and CAN replies that sits within your Zoho Desk ticketing database, right? It's going to just essentially comb through that and look for replies that best matches the inquiry, So in a sense, obviously your agents get to become more efficient. They get to become more consistent, especially when it comes to repeated tickets or tickets of almost similar nature. That way, obviously, your form of response is going to be more consistent. Now, how we're going to work with this is you can paste this as it is, as a content, and then just send it forward. Or you can also kind of use that to inspire and improve the quality of your response. And it's not just that we do have chatbot, which is the self-serviceable aspect, because we've always read documentations and articles and trends that consumers today do enjoy that self-serviceable aspect. They do want information and answer almost instantaneously. So this is a customer-facing bot. It is built using an ASAP widget by Zoho Desk, and you also embed this onto your website. And you've got 4 features here, right? The knowledge base, which essentially are all those articles and FAQs that sits within. You can escalate these to one-to-one agent support. You can run this through a community and forums and some sort of build your own network from there on, and just work on, receiving answers and also contributing to answers. But what we're seeing here as a screenshot is our AI bot itself. Again, it's going to be able to expound on all those data that sits within your knowledge base. So that's really important, especially as a brand, because you want to work with something consistent. Your responses has to be really consistent. Um, Ticket sentiment is also one of the things where we are able to identify what's positive, what's negative. We've kind of seen this earlier on with the sales aspect. This is only more so applied to customer support. I think what we will get as a benefit here is, of course, prioritize the ticket, and really sift out, the unhappy customers or the happy customers from the lot, and maybe we can work on maybe producing a customer case story based off that, speaking from personal experience. Okay, auto tagging is available. You want to have Zia to tag tickets more consistently, and then just also essentially identify the right subject and then tag it to the right subject matter experts for support. Because sometimes customer may not be able to explain problems they are facing as well, right? So Zia kind of just has a really consistent way of recognizing similar topic and matching it to the right help. You have dashboards. You want a good granular view of all performance happening within the ticketing ecosystem, right? We obviously are able to see trend analysis. I think what really stands out to me right here when Zia is at work is the word cloud visualization, where obviously battery seems to be one of the biggest problem, and probably you can work with R&D on this, right? It's probably something that you want to highlight to the R&D team, um, and it's not just limited to customer experience. At the end of the day, I think it also relates to product as well. What are the types of product? How can you use all this information you have at hand to really improve your products and the services that you're putting out across? So you get, other avenues. You get to open up another channel of conversation, which I think is great.
So, down to our last poll, don't worry, guys. So, we just want to hear more from you. So, I'll be launching a poll and asking you which areas of customer experience do you believe AI can most effectively enhance? So, of course, there are lots of aspects that AI can come in. And here in this poll, there are options like personalization and customization. Is it customer service and support? Predictive analytics for customer behavior, marketing automation and targeting, and product recommendations. So, coming into the context of what do you think can most effectively enhance by AI? So, maybe I could give you a few seconds rather, a few seconds to enter your poll. Because, yeah, while there are challenges, of course, there are also aspects that AI can help us improve or enhance. So there are a few answers coming in. Let's just wait for the others to enter their poll. So there's a split decision between personalization and customization, and as well as for customer service and support. So let's wait a few more seconds for the others to share their answer. Again, this is an anonymous poll, so your identity is well kept secret. Okay, I think everyone's done entering their answers, and I'll show the results to everyone. So, just like what I've said earlier, there's nothing much change. It's more of a split decision, split answer between the personalization and then between customer service and support. Um, of course, these are heavily, involved in customer experience. The more that we create, the more that AI can enable us to create a dynamic content that is in line with our users or client, we can provide a better customer service and support based on what they need. Or like it's easier for us to come in where they're at. So without further ado, I think I'll bring back Nick on stage.
Awesome. Thanks, Chelsea. So, in fact, I think AI can really effectively enhance, in fact, all 5 points here. But like what we said and always been emphasizing on, there's no right and wrong answer because essentially all of us are picking, what's uniquely applicable to us, right? So, but yeah, we pretty much talk about really how AI is going to help marketers, your sales reps, your customer support team, um, in the various aspects as well. So I hope you've gotten some takeaways. But we've made really very quick enhancement as well in the last year, and that's our integration with GPT. And we kind of know how GPT took the world by storm. There are two groups of people: people who are against it, people who embrace it wholeheartedly. I'm so glad that I'm the latter, right? So it's a very helpful tool, I would say, in terms of how I got it to check my work and things like this. But yeah, we recognize the importance of that. I think us as a company, we have also kind of embraced the rise of GPT and OpenAI, and we've made integrations with them. So very quickly, we want to do a very quick explanation of what is GPT, what is generative pre-trained transformer here, how is this different from kind of the Zia AI that we saw earlier on, in what sense is this slightly more advanced, and why do we have it as part of our ecosystem, as part of our integration, if I can put it that way. So of course, we know GPT is a type of large language model. In the earlier example, we've seen how Zia as an AI resolves smaller problems, like making recommendations, like running analysis of data, right? So GPT here itself can actually solve multiple new problems on a bigger scale, really based on the large data inputs that it has learned over time. And it's been in the market for quite some time already. So I think it's there. So if we were to talk about LLM, large language model, it is actually a type of machine learning which we call deep learning, right? Where it analyzes all this unstructured data and is able to understand all this distinction between pieces of content, your words, your parameters, without any form of human intervention. So it's kind of like unsupervised learning, right? One of the, I think, really more powerful examples is, in the medicinal field, um, specifically maybe to biology, how you can get GPT to help you, invent new formulas or reimagine formulas, just by understanding some biology language like chemical compounds, modules, protein breakdowns and things like this that it has learned, is able to actually curate something new from you, right? So it's input, processing, and then there's output. And it's very much like human intelligence, right? It's able to actually understand the relationship of all these different parameters. It is speculated that up to date there is 1.76 trillion of parameters, which is basically kind of variables that they learn, where they learn their own value through data sets. So GPT, LLM is able to understand the relationship of all this. I think that's really humanly impossible to do. And that's really the power. And that's where technology comes in, right? It's supposed to come in to help us. So while we've spoken quite a fair bit about GPT, I want to again bring Chelsea on just for her to give us a very quick sharing on why we integrate GPT to our very own tool itself. Under what circumstances do we use them? What were the benefits? So Chelsea?
Thank you, Nick, for sharing. So, just like what he said, I'm going to show you some few examples, like how is it integrated in our ecosystem. So, let's say, for example, in sales and marketing, social media is a powerful tool for us, especially in this digital economy, right? So with ChatGPT, it can assist us in composing social media posts that is more aligned with how we want to address our tones to our audience. So as you can see here in the example, you can type some keywords just like how GPT works, and you can even have the option of asking to include hashtags or photos that are related to this post, and you can add it to compose, and you have now a content that you can also have the liberty to edit. Next example is the Zoho Sales IQ, wherein, as you can see here in the example, there's a conversation between the agent and the customer. And during the conversation, we can see later on that the information shared inside the chat can be transcribed and summarized by the agent using GPT. So after the agent ended the conversation, he can just select the summarize button, and it will generate this, and the information that's been generated can actually be added in the notes, let's say in your CRM. So it can help you keep track of all the conversations that happen between the agent and the customers. Another example is how we can compose customer email in CRM. You see, sometimes writing emails can be overwhelming, especially when we talk to different clients, right? So, you know, helping us providing smart prompts that can help us generate email easily, and focus on much more complex tasks in line. So here is an example of how it's done. And just like anything that's been generated, you can also, have the liberty to edit it and paraphrase it according to your organization's context. So these are just a few examples. And as what Nick has been discussing throughout the session, we have all these open source, different breed of softwares to help us. And it can help us to answer our customer support inquiries in only a span of few hours. But the question is, why are we still missing the mark? Or why is it not, meeting or producing a better overall experience? Like, maybe there's this question going on right now, especially with being presented with the tools. Like, how do we even hit the bullseye, like one after another with the same customer? Or is there a way to constantly impress our customers and keep them coming back for more? And that way is, producing a great customer experience. Just like what Nick said in the very first few slides, they are our greatest advocates. And providing a great customer experience for them can, help them come back to us. And it, puts us in the place of the today's context that we should be more proactive rather than reactive. Just like, using these different tools that offers endless opportunities inside Zoho, these are a few examples that can, help us integrate better and providing a proactive customer experience for everyone. And yeah, I think that's we've covered everything almost about, using AI efficiently in improving our customer experience. And if you want to learn more and get more updates on our latest topics or webinars, feel free to follow us in this social media handles. We are on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram.